What if you could make someone fall in love with you? Not trick them, not manipulate them, actually make them with one single wish. Sounds perfect, right? The person you've been too scared to talk to, suddenly choosing you, wanting you, needing you. Now ask yourself, what happens when that love doesn't have an off switch? What happens when the real person disappears, replaced by something wearing their face that would burn the world down just to keep you close? What happens when you realize, too late, that the wish you made didn't just change her, it destroyed her from the inside? Obsession is not a love story. It is a horror film about what love looks like when it goes wrong in the most supernatural, irreversible way possible. Directed by Curry Barker, this 2025 film turned heads for one reason. It takes a concept most romantic comedies treat as adorable, a guy desperately wishing the girl he likes would love him back, and follows it all the way to its darkest, most terrifying conclusion. Here is every single thing that happens, and what it all means. Subscribe. The movie follows Bear, a shy music store clerk who hides behind nervous smiles and songs that remind him of Nikki. Nikki works with him, speaks kindly to him, and supported him when his grandmother died. To Bear, kindness becomes proof of destiny. He does not just like her, he has built an entire fantasy around her. At the beginning, Bear is practicing how to confess his feelings, not to Nikki, but to a waitress, while his best friend Ian gives advice. Bear says Nikki is all he thinks about, and Ian tells him to wait for the right moment. Bear is not just afraid of rejection, he is afraid the story inside his head is not real. Soon after, Bear's cat dies after getting into his grandmother's pills. Bear breaks down, but when Nikki calls about quiz night, his sadness almost disappears. Her attention becomes medicine. Nikki mentions she lost her crystal necklace, so Bear rushes to a crystal shop to buy a replacement. It seems sweet, but it also shows how quickly he turns her casual words into a mission. Inside the shop, Bear finds a strange item called the One Wish Willow. Open the box, take out the willow branch, make one wish, and break it. The clerk hints that customers usually come back upset, not because it failed, but because it worked too well. Bear ignores the warning. Later at quiz night, we meet Bear, Nikki, Ian, and Sarah, another coworker who clearly likes Bear. Afterward, Bear drives Nikki home. Nikki says she wants to leave the music store and become a writer. She also says she needs to understand love to write about it. Bear asks if her book is a romance, but Nikki corrects him. It is a love story. Bear does not understand the difference. To Nikki, love is complex. To Bear, love is possession. When he finally tries to confess, he follows Ian's bad advice and calls her Freaky Nikki, an old nickname connected to her bullies. Nikki becomes uncomfortable and asks directly if he likes her. This is Bear's chance to be honest, but he panics and says they are just good friends. Nikki says good and leaves. Bear sits in his car, embarrassed and rejected. Instead of accepting the answer, he opens the One Wish Willow and says the words that ruin everything. He wishes Nikki loved him more than anyone else in the world. The branch snaps, and the nightmare begins. As Bear starts to drive away, Nikki appears on her doorstep, staring at him. She comes back to the car and acts completely different. She is warm, flirtatious, almost desperate. She invites him inside, then says they should go to his place. She even lies, saying her father is dying because she does not want to be alone. But every now and then, the real Nikki breaks through, confused and frightened, before the strange lovesick version takes control again. At Bear's house, she kisses him, then snaps out of it for a second in horror. Bear is disturbed, but not enough to stop the situation. He sleeps on the floor and searches online for the One Wish Willow. The next morning, Nikki makes breakfast, but she has also taken Bear's dead cat from the trash and created a candlelit memorial. This is the first sign that the wish has not created love. It has created devotion without humanity. Soon, Nikki appears in a red dress and confesses her feelings. Bear gets exactly what he wanted. A montage shows them acting like a perfect couple, kissing at work, eating together, watching movies, and shocking everyone around them. But horror lives in the gap between fantasy and truth. During a date, Ian calls Bear and reveals that Nikki lied about her father being sick. He also says Nikki once told Sarah she sees Bear like a little brother. Bear now understands the wish is real. He knows Nikki's love is not natural. He knows something has been stolen from her. But when Nikki starts to panic, Bear decides it does not matter. Instead of undoing the wish, he chooses to enjoy the result. From here, Nikki's behavior becomes more disturbing. She watches Bear sleep from a dark corner. She cries that he does not love her as much as she loves him. She cuts his hair while he sleeps. She tapes the door shut so he cannot leave. When he goes to work anyway, she stands waiting for him so long that her body starts to fail her. Then Bear finds Polaroids in his lunch, one marked "You" and one marked "Not me." Inside the sandwich is a horrifying reminder of his dead cat. Bear finally calls the number on the One Wish Willow box. He asks whether he can change the wish. The voice says no. Bear does not want to cancel it at first. He only wants a cleaner version, a Nikki who loves him without scaring him. Then, he asks if her love is real, and the answer is chilling. Just because he chose it for her does not make it less real. When Bear asks how to cancel the wish, he learns the only way is for him to die. The voice asks if Bear wants to speak to the real Nikki. Bear hears Nikki screaming through the phone. The person walking around in Nikki's body is not truly the Nikki he knew. The real Nikki is trapped somewhere inside, conscious enough to suffer, but powerless to stop it. At a party, Nikki reads a twisted version of Hansel and Gretel, where the siblings are married and obsessed with each other. The story reflects the central horror: a relationship that should never exist has been forced into existence by a supernatural branch. During a game, Bear is supposed to kiss Sarah, but Nikki pulls Sarah's chair away so she can take her place. Then, the real Nikki breaks through again and begins hurting herself, desperate to escape. Back home, Bear gets angry, not because Nikki is suffering, but because she is embarrassing him and ruining the fantasy. He tells her to act like Nikki. She screams that she can be Nikki. When Bear says this is not real, she answers that she loves him in every reality. It sounds romantic, but it is terrifying, because this is not love speaking. This is a wish defending itself. That night, the real Nikki emerges while the other version sleeps. She begs Bear to kill her. She tells him she has never truly been with him. Bear's response reveals his selfishness. Instead of focusing on her pain, he asks what would be so bad about being with him. Even when the victim tells him she is trapped, Bear still makes it about rejection. Bear sneaks out to meet Sarah, who reveals another painful truth. Nikki and Ian have been secretly hooking up for years. Sarah also hints that she likes Bear and that he deserves someone who actually chooses him. For a second, Bear sees that real affection may have been near him all along. But before anything can change, Nikki appears and brutally kills Sarah with a brick. Afterward, Nikki tells Bear that he wished for this. And Bear, instead of running to the police, helps move the body. Now desperate, Bear returns to the crystal shop and buys more One Wish willows. He tries to make a new wish himself, but the branch will not break because he has already used his one wish. So he goes to Ian and asks him to wish that Bear never made his wish. Ian, selfish to the end, wishes for $1 billion instead, and money begins raining from the ceiling. The wish works, proving the willow is not always evil. The horror comes from what Bear wished for: control over another person. Bear's final plan is to get Nikki to make a counter-wish. But when he returns home, he finds Sarah's body placed like part of a shrine. Nikki is wearing Sarah's clothes and has drawn Sarah's tattoos onto herself, trying to become whatever Bear might want. When Ian arrives, Nikki shoots him. Now Bear is surrounded by the consequences of his obsession: Sarah dead, Ian dying, and Nikki destroyed. Bear locks himself in the bathroom with the gun. He understands the truth now. If he dies, Nikki will be free. For a moment, it seems like he may finally do the right thing. Instead of using the gun, he swallows his grandmother's pills. But almost immediately, fear takes over. He tries to make himself vomit, proving that even at the end, he cannot fully sacrifice himself for Nikki. Then, Nikki uses one of the remaining One Wish willows and wishes that Bear loves her too. The branch snaps. Bear falls into the same trance he once forced onto Nikki. He walks out, suddenly devoted, and they kiss while covered in blood. But the pills are already working. Bear collapses and dies in Nikki's arms. The moment Bear dies, his original wish breaks. Nikki is released, the lovesick version disappears, and the real Nikki returns to her body. But freedom comes too late. She wakes surrounded by blood, death, and horror. Bear is dead, Ian is dead, Sarah is dead, and Nikki, the true victim, is left alive in the middle of a crime scene she could not control. The scariest part of obsession is not the one-wish willow, it is the human desire behind the wish. The branch only gives Bear the power to do what he already wanted, erase Nikki's choice and replace it with his fantasy. In the end, Bear gets exactly what he asked for. Nikki loves him more than anyone else in the world, but that love destroys everyone around them, and when the curse finally ends, the only person left to suffer is the one who never made the wish at all. Obsession is the rare horror film that gets under your skin, not with what it shows you, but with what it makes you question about yourself. It asks whether wanting someone is ever truly about them, or whether it's always, on some level, about us. If this breakdown kept you watching, subscribe and drop a comment. Did you feel sorry for Bear, or did you stop feeling sorry for him the moment he made that wish?